Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley, Gorilla Girl filmmaker, lunar goddess, and cinephile.
Hey y'all, this is your guest ghost host Lila Kay. I'm coming at you from the Mile High to bring you chills and thrills.
And I'm your co-host John Thomas, ghost hunter, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all you spooky legend lovers out there? In today's episode, we'll be jumping back into the world of urban legends. Join us and our special guest for the evening as we tackle part 2 of Urban Legends.
But first, a word from our network sponsor.
Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.
Badger milk, badger milk.
First it was murder milk, and now it's badger milk.
And I still get Spider Pig up in there too,
Yeah.
so I'm just all about the Spider Pig.
Spider pig with badger milk. 2 for 1 combo.
Sounds like a good combo.
Gross.
Disgusting.
All right, John, bring us back.
Only Shane would think that's a good combo. Welcome back, everybody. Like Ashley said, we are diving back into urban legends, and we have Shane coming back with us. Hello, Shane.
What's up? What's up?
What's up?
Welcome back.
Good to be.
And of course, our ghost host, Lila.
Hello, hello.
Hello, ghost host.
Ghost host with the most.
Hello.
Hostess.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ghost hostess with the mostest.
Mostest hostess.
Yes.
So it's the crew, the same crew back from Urban Legends Part 1 to talk about Part 2. I am super stoked. I was looking up all the things on the interwebs, and I'm excited to share what I found. But first, we promised them the 100 People Village, so who's got that
Yes.
story?
I do. So it's this Indian village, and the structures date back to the 13th century, but nobody had lived there since like 1825, when all 1,000 residents vanished completely overnight. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows where they went. No one saw them leave, which is freaky.
I think the intro had said like 100, but it's 1,000. Like
it's
100's
1,000.
impressive, as
Right.
is. 100 people vanishing overnight, but like 1,000?
Yeah,
Holy
I mean,
moly.
May have
And
missed a
nobody
zero
knows.
there in the intro. But yeah, nobody knows.
Nobody knows what it is.
It's said that the village chief put a curse on the land, and apparently anybody who tries to live there dies. So, yeah.
Wait, how long do they have
I
to
don't
live
know.
there before they die?
I'm not sure. It did not say. But I did get like an Indian paranormal team spent the night there to do, their investigation and stuff. They experienced apparitions. They heard disembodied whispers and screams and all kinds of different weird ass noises while they were there. So,
Yeah, I was reading about them actually, and it was something like their members also witnessed like physical apparitions. So they saw things too. They heard footsteps, experienced all sorts of like spooky things. That were in the physical realm. So I thought that's interesting because, one could argue when we say we hear things like screams and stuff, there are animals out there that make sounds that can sound like children screaming or people screaming.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but if we're talking about they've got apparitions showing up and things pulling at them, like that's next level of hauntings.
right?
But I'm with Shane's question. How long does one have to live there to be cursed? Like, because this team stayed overnight, but they weren't technically living there. So I'm assuming nobody died. I would like that follow-up. Did anybody from the paranormal team die?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, let's hope not.
Because Zach Bagans,
I know, I
Zach
don't-
Bagans has had a couple people die from his team. Well, that he associated with, like the median. Then I guess they lost their eyesight and all that stuff. So, it's got to be true because Zach Bagans went through it.
Yeah.
It's that same place?
No, totally unrelated.
Oh,
No, just in general. Yeah, just
oh,
in
I
general.
thought you meant he took his team there. I'm
No.
like, what?
He just likes to bring up his least favorite paranormal investigator.
And this village, this is located in, what is it, Kultara?
Yes.
Where's that?
Yes,
I think that's how you
yes.
say it. Kuldara, India.
Ah,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, I'd be curious, like, how is that even when you have places like that? Because that's a whole place, right? Like, it was a village.
Yeah.
So when you've got land like that nobody wants to live on, nobody wants to buy, and I doubt, and I say this without certainty, but I doubt that the government wants to like farm on there and things like that. So what do you do with land of that size? Just leave it be? Like, is there a sign that says if you live here, you die? Like, what? What do you do?
I don't know. I guess you kind of go down and you investigate and try living there for a little bit and just see if you die. I don't know.
See if you die. Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, we all do eventually.
Some are trying to expedite it a little sooner than others.
Yeah. I curse you to die from old age. Oh, that's not too bad.
From oldish?
Old
Is
age,
that what you said?
That's why I said how
Oh,
long
old
does it take
age.
for you to die? Because if it's like old age, it's not so bad. It's not a bad curse.
Right.
Or do you just disappear like these people?
Yeah, if it was like something like The
Right.
Grudge, where you just would get pulled under your blankets and disappear into nothingness, then yeah, that'd be creepy.
Right.
I was reading up on the Alaska Triangle.
Ooh, what's that?
The Alaska Triangle, it's encompassing an area ranging from near Juneau in the southeast and northern Barrow region to the western metropolis of Anchorage. Alaska's answer to the Bermuda Triangle is comprised of the most barren wilderness in the U.S. and apparently craves souls.
Ooh.
More than 20,000 people have gone missing without a trace in the area during the past half century alone. Are they being consumed by mythological beings like the beastly Kulut or the ghoulish kidnapper Kualapalik? I don't know. Lost on extreme hikes or simply vanishing into dark vortex? Nobody knows, though it's not for lack of trying. So when the government lost House Majority Leader Hale Boggs' Cessna to the Triangle in 1972, a massive search turned up tons of conspiracy theories, but no bodies. The area has been associated with evil spirits and Tlingit lore for centuries, attributed trickster demons for luring people to an icy death. Others believe the area exists amid an electromagnetically influenced vile vortex. Still others think it's a Darwinian result of explorers taking on nature. That's probably what it is. But regardless, the area continues to claim people, and underneath that massive blanket of snow and rock likely lies one of the largest and best preserved mass graves in the world.
Which is making one hell of a vortex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So that's interesting because we don't often have like urban legends and stories in conjunction with like popular or notable figures, right? I think this is the first one we've heard where someone prompted an investigation, right? Like a politician disappeared, so they're like, okay, we should probably look into this. Like 20,000 people died. Right? And they're like, yeah, whatever, it's a thing. But then one dies and they're like, oh man, we better do an investigation. Like, it's interesting how that works.
Well, it was not only just a man, it was a man and his entire plane. The wreckage was never found. Nothing was ever found. It just disappeared. So, I mean, it's Alaska. They could definitely have gone over a cliff and got buried by snow and trees and rocks and stuff. But, it's pretty crazy that an entire aircraft, I mean, it's a Cessna, so it is a small plane. It was eaten by a bear.
I wonder how many triangles there are out there.
Right.
Like, we have the Bermuda Triangle. Apparently, we have the Alaskan Triangle. I wonder how many are out there and if anyone's ever tried to map them to see where they coincide on the planet. Where are they in comparison to, like, the magnetic poles? And I don't mean in a metaphysical, like, woo-woo way, but, like, is there something scientific? Like we see in other planets, right? We see, like, storms on other planets from the surface, like surface technology of like taking pictures and stuff, where we see storms kick up and they follow like a specific pattern or specific season. So I wonder if that's ever been done in correlation with our specific triangles on Earth. Because maybe there is something scientific behind it where during certain times of the year, freak storms occur or something happens. You know what I mean? That we just maybe aren't aware of that causes those specific areas, like hot spots, to create triangles of mass destruction.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this planet in this world that we don't understand that exists right in front of our eyes. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And it's kind of like the quartz deposits underneath the Shining Hotel. There's Mother Nature can impact the spiritual realm or the metaphysical realm, or the other dimensional, or however you say it. I'm sure that can pull and influence us to kind of see that stuff. But I for sure think that there might be something going on as far as like why would there be more than one triangle? Why would there be more than one area with that kind of characteristic, where people just disappear?
Yeah, unexplained disappearances of large proportions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about, I wonder if these patterns or these things happen. Also, like Ashley, you were talking about the storms, and maybe this isn't the right term, but there's the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis force, which is an inertial force that acts on objects that are in motion within a frame of reference that rotates with respect to an inertial frame. So it's coming back to like scientific effects and like more in depth about studying physics on, are these patterns elsewhere? What is that relationship? It does come down to physics. It does come down to science. There's a reason that like we have magnetic poles and things like that. It's all, I don't know, it's all kind of related.
Can we get Bill Nye
Yes.
on the podcast?
Oh man, could you imagine? I'd freak out.
I guarantee you that some of these triangles probably lay within specific regions of like air currents, and we don't know yet necessarily on a common like knowledge scheme of things what magnetic poles in conjunction with these air currents, in conjunction with potentially like solar flares and the impact that it has on Earth systems, what that like those little perfect storms do. So hey, who knows? Maybe that's what it does. I'm just guessing. I get weird.
I think the not knowing is cool.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
and it makes us want to go visit there, and then disappear.
Just see what happens.
And then disappear. I'm good. No, that's okay.
I think the 20,000 people all had the same feeling. Makes me ask questions.
Yeah,
Let's
no
go see
kidding.
what it is.
Or the 1,000 people in the village that disappears.
Let's go see if it's true.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier to kind of come up with these conspiracy theories that sound a little bit more grounded and like, well, that makes sense. It's over the ocean, or it's over, you know what I mean? Because we don't know what happens over the ocean as much. And like, it's easier to be like, well, maybe a hurricane swept them away. But when like thousands of people disappear from a village, we're like, oh shit, what was that about? But yeah. I don't know.
What a coinky dink.
Oh, darn. Maybe they all ran away. All 1,000 staged a runaway at the same exact time.
It could happen.
Have you tried to coordinate 5 people, much less 1,000?
Yes. Very true. Very true.
I've seen it happen.
Well, yes, military
Okay, yeah, but
is not easy. So have you heard of the Scandinavian Jenganger? And I don't know if I'm saying it right. Basically, it's a ghost zombie.
Ooh.
Yes. And
Go on.
it dates back.
If Lila's interested.
Yeah, it dates back to the Vikings. So hot, right? The belief is that they've got like the physical appearances of a zombie-like creature, but they still possess their mind and their memories. So it's more like ghost-like. So it's a hybrid of both of those. And it's interesting because it's kind of the idea of what they do and what they are kind of has changed over, the centuries, as things do. Stories change and evolve as society does. But they are actually, back in the day, back in the Vikings time, they were believed to be fairly common.
Are you talking about Draugr?
I could spell it for
Yeah,
you.
spell it.
Gjenganger.
Oh, I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
a mouthful of letters. So it says they can infect the living by pinching them. So you don't even have to be bitten by them. They can pinch you when you turn into one of these things. And
So
it says
leprechauns.
it says they pinch you in your sleep.
Oh, that's creepy.
And the pinched person will then be marked for sickness and death, and you eventually become one of them. So,
Jeez.
yeah. It's an interesting urban legend and creature. Again, I'm not quite sure if I'm saying it right. So, any listeners, if you know Scandinavian languages and you know how to say that word, drop us a line. We'd love to learn how to say it.
Yes.
I'm going with Jengunger, but, I may be slaughtering that.
Every time you say it, I think of Jenga. Sorry.
I'm not very well versed in Scandinavian pronunciation, so.
Well, Scandinavia was a little bit different than Norway, so that they might have different pronunciations for things, but I've never heard that word before. Usually they're referred to as draugr.
It makes me wonder, though. They think that you were pinched in your sleep, so when you wake up, you're marked for death. And so that leads me to believe people were waking up with, marks on themselves, right? Pinch
Right.
marks of some sort. And then that person would become sick afterwards. So I try to think back to, that time, back when we have Vikings and stuff, and what did red marks and welts like that represent? What could these people have been potentially getting ill with that would eventually manifest into illness and sickness? Do you know what I mean? What illness was out there?
Yeah, because if it's not a bite mark, then there was nothing infecting them.
I mean, it's Europe. It could have been smallpox. I mean, the Europeans brought smallpox to the U.S. to the natives, and measles, mumps.
So maybe it was also some type of foliage or something that was around, sort of like a poison ivy type of situation where they were going through these different environments and that has, different trees and bushes and things like that living in them. So maybe it was something to do with the environment itself that was causing this illness that kind of just got spread and taken over from there.
Yeah, it's funny back then. If they couldn't explain it, it's immediately paranormal.
That's the same way it is now. We don't do it any differently.
I just blame it on Donald Trump.
Ay. You would.
Well, hey, since both of you are in Colorado, have you gone over Riverdale Road yet?
No, not recently.
Here's what's interesting about this when I'm reading about it is it says for 11 horrifying miles.
Oh!
Riverdale Road
That's
near
funny.
Thornton, Colorado is crammed with enough horrifying legends to bring even the bravest paranormal investigator to his or her knees. From a ghost hunter attacking parked cars on Joggers Hill to various demons and even a phantom Camaro, oh man, revving up and down the winding road.
Yep.
But the gates of hell seems the epicenter. The physical iron gates are now gone, but what remains is the partial shell of an old mansion where a madman is supposedly burned his wife and children alive. You guys know about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I read up into it. Yeah, last time when I mentioned
You've been up
Riverdale
there?
Road. I've been up there. Yeah,
So are the remains of the house there?
that part I don't know. I don't think I went far enough. But like I mentioned in the last Urban Legends episode, they had the hitchhiker and all that stuff.
That's right. You did mention the hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Holy shit, 11-mile road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Riverdale Road, and now it's all come full circle.
I forgot about that one, the 11-mile part. But yeah,
It says left behind are the barren, charred plot of land and a white-clad woman who wanders the area. She's joined by the ghosts of slaves, supposedly hanged from the now charred tree. Go ahead and run away when you see something creepy like an ethereal pack of dogs. You're probably just going to bump into something worse, possibly hell, a portal to which some believe in is here. That maybe explains why so many demons were conjured in a weird underground chicken coop near a set of underground tunnels. There's underground tunnels there too?
that's new to me.
It's unknown when things got really hairy, though. Given the spirits of ghosts of slaves, it's safe to assume terrible things have been happening on Riverdale Road since the 1850s. And each time something terrible happened over the decades, it's just kind of got stacked into this nesting doll of a horror show.
Interesting. And for those who aren't understanding why we're so fixated on 11 Mile Road, listen to the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
that's, oh my gosh, 11-mile
All right,
road.
Ashley.
That is
Time to put this on YouTube.
insane.
I was
Come
gonna
on.
say
You could.
Let's go play.
You know what? I will get in a car and drive up there with one other
Yeah.
person. Because remember, 11-mile road game can
You
only be
can't
played
have
by
anyone.
yourself.
Yeah.
So I will feel fine if I have one other person with me. I will absolutely drive up to Riverdale Road and to the ruins.
I'll go with you. Let's do it.
road trip.
I will do it. Yeah, like we could all three of us go, but but I'm not playing 11-mile road by myself.
No. Before Lila gets into one of hers, Ashley, did you tell us something about 11 Mile Road earlier?
She totally did.
No, okay, so we were driving to Colorado a few days ago for the holidays, and there's this way to get from California to Colorado that goes off the highway through this like back small highway. It kind of goes between Bakersfield and up to Barstow because we went the southern route towards Vegas, and it was dark, and as soon as I turned off onto this side road, everyone's asleep in the car except for me. I'm driving. It got so thick. Like the fog just came out of nowhere. It was super thick, low visibility. All the other cars had disappeared. And I'm just like, oh, this is nice. It's night and no visibility, super thick fog. And I felt like I was on this road forever. At some point, the kids woke up, and I think Keith had woken up too. And we get to like this section where all of a sudden the fog just completely went away, like just disappeared. And the first thing you see is a sign. Like it's just right there, a sign on the side of the road. And Keith reads it, and he's like, oh, National Cemetery. and it was just like thick fog, nothing. Clear as day. So I keep driving. I get to the other end where the cemetery is now done, right? The National Cemetery is done. We've passed it, and all of a sudden the thick fog is right back. And I'm like, that's creepy as all hell. And continued on this foggy road. And then we were joking that this is probably 11-mile road. And then it's just like, well, the trees have disappeared. I'm like, if I see a lake, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I don't know where, but like if I see a lake suddenly appear, I'm on. I mean, even though I am driving. But once we got to the end of the section of fog and everything cleared up, there was a red stoplight. And I was like, holy shit, is this a stoplight they're talking about? Should I cover my eyes? And Keith is like, do not cover your eyes. I was like, if the car stops, I am going to start screaming. Just like that Reddit user that we read. I will just start screaming my head
Could you imagine
off.
being the passenger in her car and not having any clue what's going on and just watching her like panic
Right.
and like,
Just no context.
Just zero context. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a creepy stretch. But, I told, like, Cole had woken up too at some point, and I was just like, yeah, it's so weird that right through the cemetery there was zero, fog. And he said, maybe it was all the ghosts' bodies block the fog out. And I'm like, that's creepy. I like the way your mind works.
Oh, he's yours.
It was just in that section too, like where the cemetery was, the stretch alongside the cemetery. There was zero fog. How does that happen? I don't know.
I don't know.
Amazing.
See, at least you experienced 11-mile road with a group of people.
So not much could
Right.
happen.
No.
Although, Keith, I was describing what happens on 11-mile road, lots of noise, things don't look in the back seat, things pulling at you. And he said, so it sounds like you're road tripping with children? Like that. That's essentially what you're describing. I'm like, good point. It actually might be scarier to road trip with children than drive on 11
And then at the
miles.
stoplight, you stop and then you start screaming and all breaks loose. And that's exactly what happens with kids.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. And all hell breaks loose.
Now we know. We just solved
So,
the mystery. All right.
We just Scooby-Dooed the crap out of that.
So you guys said there's tunnels underneath the Riverdale?
Well, that's what
right?
it says.
So have you been up to Lookout Mountain, John and Lila?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Did you know that there's underground tunnels? There are two.
No.
Up to that mansion, is it Butcher? I don't know, I'm butchering it.
Betcher Hall? No. Yeah.
That one place at the mountain.
Butcher Hall, because that's what I'm doing to the name. That apparently has like tunnels under it too. Fun fact.
That's crazy.
All right, your urban legend.
Mine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, mine is the Russian sleep experiment. Don't know if any of y'all read up on that one.
Did
but I
not.
thought that one was very interesting. So pretty much this comes from 1940s Russia.
Of course it does.
There was this, right, of course. Well, you'll see why. It's because this experiment was done on inmates of a prison. So it wasn't really like a by choice type of situation. So there were researchers who wanted to use an experimental gas to keep these 5 prisoners awake. What the actual purpose of that was and why they wanted them awake, I couldn't find. Maybe that's for the best. But this experiment pretty much lasted about 15 days. So these 5 inmates were in the same room together, and the gas was released to try to keep them awake. First 4 days, everything was fine. They were staying awake, no big issue. But on day 5, the prisoners began to experience this severe paranoia, which, I mean, you've been awake for 5 days now. That kind of tracks to me. There was one inmate in particular who was just absolutely losing his mind. And so there were microphones set up in this room. The researchers were able to watch through one-way mirrors. And after day 5, the inmates stopped speaking to each other. They were so paranoid that they didn't trust each other, but they trusted those researchers more, so they would speak into the microphones that were in the room, whispering through them. And then on day 9, the one inmate who had more severe paranoia than the other would start screaming and screaming for hours on end until his vocal cords wore out and he wasn't able to scream anymore. But the interesting thing was that the other inmates didn't react. They were very calm. They had no issues with this one screaming. They would just continue to whisper into their microphones until all of a sudden they didn't want to do that anymore. So the researchers were sitting there thinking, oh, something's wrong with the microphones. We can't hear them. We don't know what's going on in this room anymore. Like, we can see them, but we can't hear them. So on day 12, one of the researchers goes into the room just to make sure that the microphones were still working. And then there was a voice that answered from inside from one of the inmates saying, we no longer want to be freed. So they weren't talking. They weren't trying to escape. There was nothing going on. But all of a sudden, these inmates were like, no, we're good. We'll stay in here. We don't want to be free. So come along day 15. The gas got cut off. That was replaced with fresh air. So they were actually able to breathe regular air. They go in. One of the inmates is dead. He'd been mutilated, torn off his flesh, and ripped open his own abdomen, maybe even like 8 chunks of himself because there were pieces of flesh missing. The inmates refused to leave by force, and they were fighting back, and none of the researchers knew what to do. Eventually, with the end of this, the researchers wanted to get rid of the prisoners and get rid of the evidence on what was happening. So they ended up, quote-unquote, dealing with the prisoners. That way they could cover up this whole experiment. So the prisoners did not survive, and everything got pushed underneath the covers. So 15 days, people were awake, which would drive me crazy, too.
How did they not see him mutilating himself if they had the one-way mirrors?
Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe this was while they were off sleeping, because the researchers could go home.
Yeah, and sleep.
Yeah.
Oh.
So maybe it happened in the middle of the night.
So they actually have done some sleep studies out there more like currently. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, Shane, you could be my Google person, but isn't there a certain after so many days of lack of sleep, actually psychosis does present itself?
I think it's like, honestly, I think it's like 5 or a week. I can't remember. It's not a big number.
Because they've done the studies where, like, with the brain there's like so many days of sleep deprivation where like hallucinations start to present themselves, and then at some point psychosis becomes a thing.
The longest recorded time without sleep is approximately 264 hours, or just over 11 consecutive days. Although it's unclear exactly how long humans can survive without sleep, it isn't long before the effects of sleep deprivation start to show. Only 3 or 4 nights without sleep, you start to hallucinate.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Here's the thing. I love sleep studies. I think that they're super interesting. I love to know what's going on in the brain when people are sleeping and going through those different sleep cycles, which is why I wanted to bring this one up. So if y'all remember, we talked about Slender Man in Urban Legends Part 1. this is lumped into the same category. So the Russian sleep experiment is also a
It's a
creepypasta
creepypasta.
in the way that Slender Man is.
Okay.
So this, obviously not true, not a real sleep experiment from 1940s Russia. But can you imagine? Like, I feel like that's not totally unrealistic. You go days and days without sleeping, something's gonna happen.
I'm sure in former Soviet Union they probably did stuff like that. It's not like beyond the imagination. Like in 1940s Soviet Union, I'm sure scientists were like, let's see how our prisoners can respond to this.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, sleep experiments are super cool, but I also I understand that it was practice in the past tense where people would use prisoners to experiment on. So I like that this story is a blend of those two things, because it's awful and it's disgusting and it like makes me feel really bad.
Yeah.
But it's also like terrifying. The idea that like these people just went insane after now 2 weeks of going without sleeping. Of course they're gonna like start to hear things and do things that they're not gonna be too proud of. But I think that there's like a paranormal twist with the "we don't want to be freed." Right. So I enjoy that one too.
That very much could be a real thing, because so I am a chronic sufferer of insomnia. So I've gone at most without zero sleep, I want to say 3 days. But I have gone for about an hour to 2 hours every night for about 14 days. And I had to, eventually, like, you crash hard from that if you don't sleep. Oh, yeah. So then I slept for like 24 hours. But when I was going through that really extreme insomnia episode, I had looked it up, and I do want to say that for someone, and that doesn't mean getting like intermittent sleep, but for someone who doesn't sleep for 15 days I think it was 15 days consecutively, is when psychosis does present itself. So I think it's 3 days you get the hallucinations, which, by the way, there is an actual is it Salvador Dali who did the sleep deprivation to get artistic creation?
I think so.
Yeah, there's an artist out there who would sleep deprive themselves for 3 days to get inspiration to create, because what comes from sleep deprivation for more than about 72 hours at that mark is the hallucinations. So it's like that creative inspiration. Back then they thought it was like the muse visiting them, but really it's you unlocking the hallucinations in your brain. So now I know some artists will mix that sleep deprivation with illegal substances and see what happens. I don't recommend that. Like, just so we're clear, listeners, I do not recommend that. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I like that you brought that one up. That was good.
There is, I want to say there's a movie or documentary because there were similar studies. I think it was in the Bay Area in California when they were doing experiments with, I think, LSD, and it was with patients there. I don't know if they were voluntary or not, but yeah, they said some weird shit happened. But it's been so long since I've seen anything on it. But yeah, there was a real life scenario, but it was involving LSD, not to the gruesome extent of the Russian experiment, but yeah.
I used to work overnights doing stalking, and there was a period of time where I didn't get hardly any sleep at all, if any. And I remember actually hallucinating while at work. I would see some weird thing poke its head out from like beyond the aisles. It'd be like 5 aisles down, and I knew it wasn't somebody I worked with, because who's going to sit there and fuck with me and be like poking their head out and be like making faces and then go back away. Like, nobody would do that. I was working with a bunch of older people. They didn't have that kind of sense of humor. They would never mess with me that way. And I would even walk down there and be like, what the fuck? Where'd they go? There was nobody in that area. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'd go back to my area, start stalking stuff, and freaking just happen to peek down, and same goddamn thing, except for it'd be like up higher. And I'm like, I know there's no freaking machinery down there for them to be up high on the shelves. What the hell is going on? And like you said, Ashley, after a while, you crash. And I slept for like 24 hours, if not longer. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like for me, when I've had my weirdest episodes, and you can probably relate because you had that sleep deprivation, it's like your body almost starts to feel like one big hallucination. Like it feels like it's floating almost, and it's like
exactly,
you're gonna crash soon. And I've only gone through that once. Usually when my insomnia hits, it's for a few days, and I'm fine. But like that one, for some reason, that lasted, like, I want to say I tracked it up to 14 days where I was only able to sleep like an hour, 2 hours tops, every night. And it was just like, that took a toll. But holy moly, sleep is an interesting thing and what it does to our brains and our bodies, right?
Absolutely.
I have a creepy one for you guys.
Sweet.
Yes, the creepier the better.
You my kind of girl. Okay, so we knew that though.
Continue.
So I have the legend of Kuchisake-onna, very much in the vein of Hanako-san. We have our lovely haunting ladies. So Kuchisake-onna is a legend in Japan, and it's a woman who is disfigured by her husband. She roams the streets now at night wearing a surgical mask to hide the fact that her mouth is split from cheek to cheek. Now, this is interesting because nowadays everybody's wearing masks. So you don't know if you're running into her or not. So if you meet her on the road, she will ask you if you think she's beautiful. If you say no, she'll kill you. If you say yes, she'll take her mask off to reveal her real face and her terrifying smile. When she repeats the question after taking off her mask, so she's going to ask you again, do you think I'm beautiful? If you say no, obviously you die. If you say yes, she is going to actually carve your face into a replica of her own. So you get to have her same pretty smile. The only way to beat Kuchisake-onna, so the only way to not get your face carved up or die, is by giving vague answers. So don't say yes or no. I don't know what kind of vague answer. Like, I was trying to think. If someone asked me, do you think I'm beautiful? Like, what are you saying?
I don't speak Japanese.
I don't speak Japanese. I feel like it would be like, do you think I'm beautiful? And I'd be like, does the moon shine? Like, I don't know how to be. I would panic probably, be like, you so gorgeous, girl, baby, you sexy. Like, I wouldn't even know what.
And then you get your face carved.
Yay, Joker style, a la Joker.
Do bear shit in the woods? Like, I don't know.
Am I beautiful?
Like that?
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Are you?
To somebody.
Put it back
We
on
have
her.
different beauty standards.
It'd be like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Do you think you're beautiful?
Uno reverse card.
Yes.
Exactly. I feel like, yeah, and that's extra creepy because right now everybody wears a mask. So, like, if someone comes up to you, it's just like, I don't want to talk to you. Stranger danger. Just don't even look.
The funny thing is it's probably going to happen to Ashley since 11 Mile Road basically happened to her too. So.
If someone walks up to you and asks if they're beautiful,
You say yes.
I would panic, and I wouldn't even know how to. I just would freeze.
start speaking Spanish. No comprende.
Or I would respond,
there you
"Am
go.
I? Am I beautiful? Why are you needy? Why are
Right,
you
yeah.
taking so much? What about me? My
What
feelings matter
about
too."
me?
Eventually, she just leaves. She's like, I can't do this.
Right? Like, that was a
Right.
psycho. On we go. Oh, the other funny thing, when I was driving on that road, by the way, I saw a red light on the other side, like way on the other side. And I'm like, look, someone's playing 11 Mile Road. Like, across the way, there was like a random red light.
I wonder if two people could do that and actually end up at the same time, but two separate red lights, and you see each other like that. That'd be fucking
And you're
weird.
both looking at each other and screaming, ah!
Right?
There's only one way to find out.
No.
Come on.
And then you realize it's you in the other car.
Oh, that's some trippy Twilight Zone shit. I like it. Plot twist.
Right. Yeah.
All right, who's got the next one?
I have one from South Africa that involves a bathroom, and it involves a girl named Pinky, who is not fond of the color pink, and ironically enough, her hair is bright ass pink.
Oh, been there.
And she actually murders girls who have on pink underwear.
Well, I'm fucked. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, girls can see her, but boys can't. I think it was something to keep girls off of the streets, basically, which doesn't make sense to me if it's in a bathroom, but whatever.
Let's Google.
I mean, maybe there's something we don't know about the culture where, like, pink underwear is used by
Right.
certain, Like, because I think about, the red light district, certain outfits in like different countries have represented certain work types. And even here,
Right.
streetwalkers tend to wear kind of specific wardrobes. So maybe pink underwear is a thing there. In which case, throw your pink panties out, ladies. Or keep them.
Or whatever. Just
I sex
don't
shame
let
nobody.
Pinky know.
Don't let Pinky Pinky know. Pinky Pinky just sounds like an inappropriate. You're like, okay, so Pinky Pinky in the girls' bathroom.
Right.
That sounds like it's going downhill really fast.
Well, nothing's coming up as why they don't like pink. So actually, they have a pink day
Right, yeah.
in South Africa.
Interesting. No idea.
Huh. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of creepy, something to keep girls off the streets and Pinky Pink. And they have, there's a photographer that did, pictures and stuff of what she would look like, and kind of creepy.
So you're going to have to post that on our page.
Definitely, when we get
We
to
have a
the
lot of
thing,
stuff
yes.
we need to post.
I know, we've
I know.
been slacking on not posting pictures.
It is fine. Everything is fine.
Everything is awesome.
Oh my gosh, both of you.
That was my other contribution there. Lai, do you have another one? Ashley? Somebody? Anybody?
I do. Less on the creepy route. I was gonna talk about the legend behind Friday the 13th.
Ooh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
The real legend?
Is there
I mean,
not,
not
a,
necessarily
is there
like
a fake legend?
paranormal. Right. Not the movie.
Because I think legend in and of itself is kind of not proven. I don't know. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I know all about this one because I'm a Freemason. So
Let's see what one we got.
So, Friday the 13th is considered a very unlucky day. Or if you're big into horror movies like myself, it's a fun little day. So there's two different origins, one with Friday, one with the number 13. So 13 in of itself is considered an unlucky number as well. The earliest origin that I could find on the number 13 comes from Greece in 700 BC. And this comes from a farmer's almanac that says, avoid the 13th of the waxing month for beginning to sow. So these farmers were told not to mess with their land on the 13th of the month, but there's not really any explanation as to why that is. It was just a thing that you didn't do. So again, maybe this goes back to the place and the setting, which we don't have any context for because I don't know about y'all, but I wasn't alive in 700 BC Greece.
No.
I plead
I
the
didn't think
fifth.
so. Oh, okay. But there's also this connection with the number 13 throughout readings and throughout history. So, for instance, the Last Supper was between Jesus and his 12 disciples. And once the 13th guest, Judas, got there, things didn't go so well. So there's lore into saying that when 13 people meet in a room, one will die within the year. Where that comes from also, I don't really have the context for, but I would love to find out who came up with that fun little rule.
yeah, that's all I need to hear to not ever do that. So
Just start counting people in a room. I see 12
Yeah.
people, I'm out. I'll let somebody else go in first. I'll follow behind
I'll come
them.
back later. Yeah.
I'll be 14, but I won't be 13. Yeah. And then with Friday, that is also considered very unlucky. And the history that I could find in that is in Canterbury Tales, which said that Friday was a quote-unquote day of misfortune. So between having this day that is associated with bad luck, as well as this number that is associated with death, it's associated with misfortune, putting those two things together and having Friday the 13th is considered a very unlucky time. But that begs the question, is that just a coincidence that that is a bad day, or is it pretty much a long-running joke? So we know Friday the 13th now in association with horror movies, and every time a Friday the 13th comes around, you see like businesses doing deals like, ooh, Friday the 13th deal. A lot of like tattoo places, they really dig into that. So is this actually unlucky, or are we using it as a marketing strategy? That's my question.
For sure, a marketing strategy.
What's your Freemason take on that?
Well, Freemasons, so on Friday the 13th, I forget which year, But it was when the Knights Templar had come up in the world. And the Knights Templar actually invented the first banks. They were really wealthy, really powerful, and really influential. And they were a threat to the Catholic Church, which is why to this day, I can't let anybody in a Catholic church know that I am a Freemason because they will kick me out. We even today are enemies. Really, like Freemasons don't care. It's mostly the Catholic Church that cares. They basically ordered back then to have the execution of every single Knight Templar that was still around, and they burned them at the stake and executed them on Friday the 13th.
Well, that's a whole lot of like extra. Like I think about that, it's just like holy moly. Not only do we have these origins in literature, like I say that loosely, but in written history, like the Almanac and the Canterbury Tales, but we also have like people being ordered to be murdered on Friday the 13th for going against the church. And oh my gosh, like there's a lot of dark history with that specific day.
Oh, it was October. Yeah, so it was Friday, October 13th, 1307. So it was actually French Templars, to be exact, ordered by the Catholic Church and King Philip. They were all simultaneously arrested, later to be tortured in locations such as the tower at Chinon, in admitting heresy and other sacrilegious offenses in the order, because they are way more powerful and influential than they were.
It's interesting that we mentioned the Last Supper, and in Norse legend, they also have their version of the Last Supper.
Do they?
Yeah, where 12 people were sharing a meal in Valhalla when a 13th person, Loki, crashed the dinner and one person ended up dead. So very similar to what Lila was saying, so that 13th number being ominous. And it carries. Like, people really carry that superstition because a lot of buildings, for the longest time didn't include the number 13th on their floor designings and their elevator numbers and stuff like that. They would completely skip that number. Like, we know that floor exists just from order of numbers, but it was not acknowledged. So we definitely have a fear of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in the 80s, I vaguely remember elevators not having a 13th floor button and asking why, and I don't think I ever got an answer. It was just, they just don't have it. I'm like, well, how do we skip a floor? But whatever.
Yeah, and then now we have, during the Halloween season, the 13th floor being that big old haunted house, like that mass attraction that brings crowds in all of the time, so feeding into that, which I think is very clever. And it feeds off of that fear. It feeds off of that superstition, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I feel like we're just cautious as people. We're hyper vigilant at sometimes. Where we would rather just not take the chance, like not putting the 13th floor on an elevator. And we're like, we're just gonna leave it off there because even if it's not true, I still want to take the chance.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I mean, we see that fear even with astrological signs. Because there are technically 13, but there are only 12 that are utilized, right? And NASA's the one that came out and said, we actually passed through a 13th. And people were like, no. We're sticking with the traditional 12. It's cool. Don't worry about it. We're going to not acknowledge that.
We're already doing this thing. We're not going to switch it up.
We're good. So people really, even now, avoid the number 13. And I like it. Is that surprising?
Yes.
Of course you do.
I know.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
There you go.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many awesome, interesting, fascinating urban legends out there, especially internationally, that like we could go on and on and on. And who knows, we'll probably have an urban legend episode like every season, because there's just so many really interesting ones out there. I know I was telling you guys earlier, like, I didn't get to read through any of the ones listed on Reddit that I found, except for a few where people are talking about their local urban legends. So it's really interesting how many are very similar, like, oh, we have this creature or that building that echoes throughout many places and is like, is that in every place? And if so, what is behind that? Or is this something that just telephone gets spread around and people are like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I bet I saw that too. So I don't know. I did think it was interesting in Auckland, New Zealand. There's a large park known as Auckland Domain. And the park is the oldest one in the area, has a huge history behind it. but it's also spooky after dark. So people try not to visit that park after dark because, according to the legend, 3 witches were hung in this park in the 19th century. And now people claim if you walk through the park at night, you'll hear the eerie cackling of the witches that had their final moments in the park. So it's just like, there's a lot of birds out there, by the way, that sound like cackling witches, if you've ever heard.
Yeah.
But the fact that 3 were hung there and people hear a cackling, it's just, oh, wow.
Pure coincidence.
It's just coincidence. I stayed at a campsite over the summer, and this lady had a laugh like a witch.
Did she?
I straight up, and it was like I woke up at 11 o'clock at night to the cackling of her having a good time. And I was like, that lady should be hired for a movie. Her witch laugh is on point. So...
Missed opportunity. You should have went and gotten her number and information.
Now I'm good. I think the last thing we should share, because I think it's fun, are the night marchers of Hawaii.
Oh,
because I saw you had that on your list, and I found it too. And
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty
That's
cool.
funny. Yeah.
I haven't heard of this one. I would love to hear about it.
I'll let Ashley do it.
Are you sure? Because
Tag team it.
Absolutely.
all right.
Go
Well,
for it.
so in Hawaii, back in the day they had night marchers. They are night marchers now. But back in the day, they had ancient Hawaiian warriors who were around to protect the sacred chiefs. So anywhere the sacred chiefs went, the Hawaiian warriors would guard them. And there is different beliefs of how they appear now. But back then, you were not to look at the chiefs. You weren't to look at in their direction. And so now the night marchers march. If you see them, you're not supposed to look directly at them. So maybe you glimpse and see a bunch of warriors walking, but like, nope, look away. When you feel the presence of them, if they approach you or you find yourself in the middle of their procession, you're supposed to lay down on the ground in the middle of the road on your stomach until they pass you all the way. And you're not supposed to move until they completely pass you. If you do move or you're just like up in the middle of their procession or looking at them, you'll die. Because that's how all these go. You die. You look, you die. You breathe, you die. You stop your car, you die. Like all the things, you die.
Yes.
That also sounds like a respect thing to me too then.
Absolutely.
Like, the fear of imminent death and all that good stuff too, but also not looking at them as you see them passing you, laying down on the ground while they go and pass you as well. That sounds more like respect to me.
Definitely, especially since you're not supposed to look at them when they were alive. You weren't supposed to glance in their
Yeah.
direction anyway. But yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
One thing that I found beautiful and slightly poetic was like, when they were alive, right, they protected the sacred chiefs. But now, if they appear during the day, it's to accompany somebody of their ohana, their family, on their death journey across to the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're still protecting the sacred. And I thought that was really, really sweet and sad all at the same time.
Right.
That is really sweet.
But don't look at them, guys.
Yes.
If you see a marching procession of warriors in Hawaii, look away, walk away. And if you can't, get on your belly and close your eyes.
Yeah. Eat some dirt.
Although one of the things I read said lay in the middle of the road face down. And I'm like, maybe don't do that. Like, don't get run over by a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
I saw that too.
off to the side.
Let's still use our brain.
Yeah. Like, because you may not want to die by warriors, but I don't think you want to be smushed by a car either. So let's just avoid laying in streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is like one of those urban legends that you can get out of alive.
Exactly.
Right.
So long as you, like,
Have respect.
play by the rules.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you can get out of it alive and you don't have to call anyone pretty.
Right.
And wear pink underwear. Oh, wait.
I was gonna say, and you can wear.
You
your
can wear
pink
pink
Don't
underwear.
wear-
with this one.
With this
but
one, you
not
can wear
No,
pink
okay.
underwear. Oh, my gosh. Well, do you guys have anything else you wanted to add tonight?
No.
I don't.
No?
Would you guys like to see my pink underwear?
Oh, my God.
No.
No thanks.
It depends.
They're not the pens. No.
I guess, like, are you wearing them or are they, like, in your drawer? Because context is everything.
European style,
Oh, my God.
right?
No.
I looked away.
There's a full moon tonight. I'm joking.
Oh, my gosh.
Where's the underwear? It's all pink. I can't understand.
I don't see him. You lied.
Oh Lord.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for part 2, Shane. And
Yes,
as
thank
always, we love having our ghost host, Lila.
Aww.
And thank you, Johnny John, for being the best co-host partner ever, ever, ever.
Aw, thank you, and thank you for being the exact same.
I'm full of love. It's the holidays. Granted, when this airs, it's going to be past the holidays.
It won't be, yeah.
But it's the
Way
holidays,
past.
and I'm full of appreciation and gratitude for all of you and what you bring to the table.
Yes.
Because you are amazing. Beautiful lights.
We heart you.
I'm gonna throw one more in here, and just because Ashley, had mentioned it earlier, ponder this for a while because it is, the Christmas season. While we're recording this, is Santa an urban legend? Leave it at that.
Is Santa an urban legend? Is
We'll leave
Santa
that.
a cryptid?
Ooh,
Oh
there you
my
go.
gosh.
Even better. I think he's both.
I mean, he's got capabilities where he can, like, fit through chimneys.
It's magic.
He is now. I mean, at one point, he was probably a real person, Saint Nicholas, right?
Right.
There you go.
I just wanted to throw that out there because I figured Ashley would do it earlier, but no.
I did.
Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about Santa in the next Cryptids or Urban Legends episode.
We're gonna
next
do it.
Season.
Yes.
We're going to talk about
Season
it.
3.
Woohoo! Season
Santa
3.
Claus is coming to 3Haunted.
Oh, Santa Claus is coming to town to haunt your house. All right.
All right.
Bring us
Bring
home,
us home.
Lila.
Thank you again to Shane for joining us on this episode of 3Haunted Podcast. I'm your guest host, Lila Kay.
I'm John Thomas.
And I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
If you have any questions, episode suggestions, or comments, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media so you don't miss a moment. We'll see you in the next one, metapals.
And just a reminder, be careful where you wear your pink underwear.